you can also change the height. So, whoops, let's make it a little too hard. So now I can make a little sort of stairway. Welcome back to Digital Paul Workshop. It is I, the forgotten modifier that makes your models look like a chaotic mess, Techno Meow Tinkerer. And today we'll be covering 5 ways to duplicate objects, at least the 5 ways I have found to duplicate objects or patterns so you do not have to recreate them over and over. The timestamps will be down below, so without further ado, let's log on in. So the first way we're going to look into how to make a copy or duplicate an object is your standard copy and paste. And you can see here I got a nice little cylinder. I want to right click on it after you make sure you got to have it selected, and it's got to be in object mode. Right click, copy object, right click paste. It's going to paste it right probably wherever this is at. And I can just click and drag, and that's the easy way how to copy an object. And I do this when I need to bring one object from one project into another project. So we'll take a look at duplicating here. And so what you basically need to do is right click on the object you got selected, you duplicate, and now I can freely move this about. And of course if you hit one of your axis keys, in this case I'm going to hit Z to bring me on up. So I keep them in line, and that's basically how you can make one way of making a copy of an object. Now you can also play around with some stuff. I want to show you a few little things you can do here on this. So like if I was to, I also want to reduce this in size. Let's get, and we're going to do a rough, I think it's called a turret gun here. I'll show you. And so you can actually hit duplicate again, but instead of trying to figure out where to actually move this, I want to hit R for rotate. So I'm going to move my pivot point back to 3D cursor because I want to use that as my center. Bring that around. And you come down here to rotate, and you can use a calculator to figure out the number, but another way to figure out a way is Blender will do it for you. So if I know a circle is 360 degrees, I hit the divide key, which is the /, and I hit 5 or ever how many times I want this to circle around, or how many objects. Enter. Boom, there it goes. Another duplicate. R, rotate it. Don't really have to rotate it that much. 360 divided by 5. I'm just going to copy it because it'll actually speed this up a little bit. 300. And that's good as and this is a good way if you want to make a turret gun using the duplicate tool without having to, if you got more than 4, because if you have 4, it'd be a lot more easier to figure this up. I could just because if I was just doing 4, I'm going to delete these. I'll hit duplicate. And what did I do? Let's see. Make sure I got select, hit duplicate. And in this case, I'll right click again, and I want to mirror it globally because I've got this, my access point still on the cursor, and my cursor centered in the object I want to duplicate. So in this case, I want to do it globally Y. I can now duplicate these objects. Hit R for rotate, and then 90 degrees, and boom. So that's the quick way to do it for 4. But if you're going to have multiple objects like we did earlier with 5, you're going to want to use your rotation and the mathematical formula of 360 divided by ever how many of these you are. And now there's one other thing we can look at here in duplicating. Let me see if I remember. Is it shift? Is it shifty? Okay, yeah, shifty. So duplicates. And now if I come into here, I click one of these, grab. No? Oh wait a minute, it's supposed to be Alt D, ain't it? I think that's the one I want. Alt D, grab. There you go. If I use Alt D instead of Shift D, it duplicates it, but it duplicates with an instant. So whatever I do to one, I can do to the other. Hey, almost like musical notes there. So, and that is basically how you can use duplicate to create multiple objects and some ways you can affect those objects. One way to duplicate objects in Blender is with the array modifier. Now I have just recently started using this myself, and I've actually come to enjoy how easy it is if you need to duplicate an object at certain fixed intervals. And so as we see here, we got my cylinder. I come over here to the little wrench, got the cylinder selected, add modifier, come down to generate, and where it says array here at the top. And that's the default, so you can come in here and you can kind of change in like how far you want it. Right here is the count, so however how many you need. So like if you need a bunch of street lamps or posts, you can. You can also change the height. So whoops, let's make it a little too hard. So now I can make a little sort of stairway. And what if I don't want it? Maybe I don't want it on the x-axis. I got a pole. I want it y-axis. And you can kind of change which way you want this stuff to go. So you can have it as a fence, light poles, posts, stairway, all sorts of stuff that comes in handy with the array to make things a little bit simpler. So another way we can duplicate our objects in Blender is the mirror modifier. Now we got an object here. I got already in my edit mode. That's I need to get this. I made this little creative object here, but let's go to our modifier tools. We're going to add modifier. We're going to generate, and whoops, come to generate, and we will come down to our mirror. And you can control which way you want this stuff to go. And if you're wondering why it's looking weird like that, is because of where it is operating stuff at. I shouldn't say operating, where it's moved. I can adjust it in the edit mode to basically be kind of like that if I want it that way. Depends on how thick you want. It's focusing around the origin point. And so we can kind of, let's see, if we do it here, grab Z, and you can kind of get a very unique, very detailed object using the mirror mode or mirror modifier. And of course, get out the edit mode, and I can come in here, add apply, and let's see if it made it. Yep, made it all one image. So yeah. There's another way where you can duplicate shapes and objects using your mirror, and it comes real handy when you want to create a symmetrical, highly detailed object. And the final way we want to at least duplicate a shape within an object is the Symmetrize mode. And so we'll come in here, we'll click on the object, we'll go in the tab, then we'll come up here, we'll first select all of A, we'll come up here to Mesh, and come on down here to Symmetrize. And as you can see here, this creates a image. Now it may default as something like, whoops, on one of these here, and so you're going to have to kind of know which way you want it to duplicate. So that's this X plus to X, Y. So we start here with X or the Y to Y. Z to Z ain't going to do too much because of the way the shape is. But we'll do Y to Y, hit enter, and now if I come back and hit A again, I do Mesh, I come back down to Symmetrize, and this time I do X to X and hit enter. I have now created a new interesting detailed shape, and of course you'll have to play around with the positioning of these to get a part of the shape you actually want. So if I probably come up here and we'll move on down here. Now if I hit Symmetrize, because it's probably, well, let's make sure it's following that one just to be on the safe side, because whatever origin point you have, let's see, yeah, it gives me a bit more. So it's going to be depending upon what origin point. Will that change? I don't think it's going to change. There might, the symmetry might actually follows this vertex line here more than this. Let me see something. Let me move my point over here just to make sure that it is symmetry. Yeah, the symmetry line is following, looks like these primary grid axis lines. So that's what you may need to know if how big or how wide or how much space you want to give something. And so that's another way you can duplicate objects in Blender. And that is the 5 ways I found that you can duplicate objects in Blender so you don't have to recreate them over and over. Now if you want to know how I made that last object, the tools I used were the extrude and bevel, so check out my videos on exploring Blender's extrude as well as exploring Blender's bevel tool. And if you like my content, please like and subscribe and share this with anyone you think might find it interesting. Have a nice day.